Okay, so think about this. You just pick up a fork, maybe a spoon, a knife. It's almost automatic, isn't it?
Completely.
Just a simple thing we do like multiple times a day, every single day, pretty much our whole lives. But have you ever, really stopped to think about what that thing in your hand is? Where it came from?
Or the incredible journey, literally millennia it took to get there.
Exactly. For most of us, I mean, these tools are they're so basic, they're practically invisible.
And that, right there, is exactly why we're doing this today. We are about to jump headfirst into a deep dive, exploring the surprisingly rich, incredibly detailed, and honestly often completely ignored world of cutlery.
Yeah.
What seems like, the most mundane kitchen stuff actually holds fascinating history, shows off incredible innovation, and maybe most importantly now, plays a really key role in our planet's sustainability.
Right. So our mission today is basically to pull back the curtain on those hidden stories, uncover some surprising facts, and really understand the impact of what we just call cutlery. By the end of this, we hope you'll see these simple tools less as just, well, implements, and more as genuine cultural artifacts. Each one has its own story.
Absolutely. And we've dug into a whole load of sources for this: historical accounts, material science breakdowns, stuff on modern design, environmental impacts.
Yeah.
It's all in there.
We promise this is going to make you look at your dinner table completely differently.
Get ready, because the humble fork, believe it or not, has a lot more to say than you might think.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. When we say cutlery, what are we actually talking about? I mean, most people probably just picture forks, spoons, knives for eating. Right?
That's the common idea, yeah. But the traditional definition is actually way broader. It covers cutting implements generally. So think knives, razors, even scissors.
Oh, okay, like industrial stuff too.
Exactly. Industrial, commercial, domestic purposes, the precision tools in factories, the knives a butcher uses historically, that all falls under cutlery.
That makes sense. But for today, we're mostly focused on the table stuff, right? The things we eat with.
Primarily, yes. And it's important to know that nowadays, cutlery is often used pretty much interchangeably with terms like silverware, flatware, or tableware.
Right.
This bigger category really covers any hand tool used for preparing food, serving food, and especially for our daily lives, eating food.
So it goes way beyond just cutting.
Oh, absolutely. It's about preparing, serving, consuming, the whole interaction with food, really. Shaping it, delivering it, eating it, the whole dining experience.
It's amazing how one word can hide so much history. Okay, so let's break down the big three, the ones you definitely have in your kitchen drawer. Spoon, fork, knife.
Sounds good.
Each one's got a pretty distinct design, obviously, which dictates what it does. And these simple definitions, they kind of hint at the long, complex history we're about to get into.
They really do. Let's start with the spoon. Fundamentally, it's an implement with a small, shallow bowl on a handle. Simple.
The scooper.
The ultimate scooper. But its function is so versatile and ancient. Eating, yes, obviously, but also serving, stirring, measuring. Think about cooking, basting, tasting. It's a real kitchen workhorse.
Okay, then the fork. That structure is pretty unique, right? 2 or more prongs on a handle.
And like the spoon, it's not just for eating. Think about cooking, turning meat, lifting veggies, serving things you can't easily scoop.
Yeah, those prongs are key. You need them to spear things.
Exactly. They really differentiate its use. And then the knife. The basic definition is a tool for cutting.
Right.
The crucial part is the blade, obviously. It can be fixed to the handle, like your chef's knife, or hinged, so it folds in like a pocket knife.
So these basic designs, they seem simple, but they're actually the result of thousands of years of tweaking and adapting.
Precisely. They're perfectly engineered, really. A testament to human ingenuity solving fundamental food problems.
So what does this all really tell us, even just looking at the definitions?
It tells us there's a deliberate, evolving design process behind these tools, shaped by what we need, by clever ideas, by how we eat.
Yeah.
These tools are so fundamental, so good at their job, that their core design hasn't really changed that much for centuries, sometimes millennia.
We just take them for granted because they work so well.
Exactly. Pillars of our daily routine, hiding in plain sight.
Okay, let's really dive into the history now. Let's go way, way back, prehistoric times, before fancy dinners, before tables even, probably.
Right. Back to the basic needs.
Yeah.
Cutting, hunting, defending yourself.
So where does the knife story even begin?
It begins with nature's toolkit, essentially. The very first cutting tools weren't metal. They were made from materials just lying around: stone, especially flint.
You can chip that to make it really sharp, right?
It's incredibly sharp. And obsidian, that volcanic glass, almost like a natural razor blade. Plus bones, antlers, even shells. They adapted whatever they could find.
Survival tools, basically.
Purely survival tools, extensions of the hand to deal with a tough world.
And then humans got smarter, more skilled.
And the knife evolved. Look at the ancient Egyptians. They got really good at this. They weren't just randomly chipping flint. They were making precise, serrated edges.
Wow.
And then, this is pretty ingenious, they'd glue these sharp flint pieces into slots in shaped wooden handles. Made them easier to hold, more effective.
So it wasn't just survival anymore, it was becoming craftsmanship.
Definitely. Advanced craftsmanship. Making tools for specific jobs, preparing food, making other things. And this is where the knife starts becoming more than just a tool.
How so?
By the Roman period, knives were still mostly for hunting and fighting, obviously. Essential stuff. But we start seeing a subtle shift.
Okay.
The wealthy, the elite, they began using small, fancy, ornamental eating knives. It wasn't just about function anymore. It was about showing off your status, your refinement, even at the dinner table.
Huh. So like tiny little decorative knives.
Exactly. And we know this for sure. Archaeologists have found steel-bladed eating knives from Roman times in Italy, in Britain.
So blades back then.
Yep. It shows the idea of a specific knife just for eating goes way back in Western culture. The first seeds of table cutlery were being planted. A new level of dining sophistication was starting.
And speaking of dining sophistication, or maybe the lack of it, it wasn't always like today where you go to a restaurant or an inn and expect cutlery.
Oh, absolutely not. That's a fantastic point. Back then, especially in inns, the innkeepers usually didn't provide table cutlery at all.
Seriously, you had to bring your own.
You absolutely did.
Yeah.
Imagine showing up for a meal and having to whip out your own knife and maybe spoon. Innkeepers usually just gave you bread, drink, maybe a hunk of meat you carved yourself.
So the rich folks...
The affluent had these elegant traveling sets, beautifully made, often in fancy cases. It was another way to flash your status. You pull out your gleaming personal set while everyone else is, using their fingers or a rough knife.
Wow. So even in rich people's homes, guests didn't always get knives.
Well, it became more common to provide some knives for guests, usually shared ones for carving. But most men still carry their own personal eating knife.
Wow.
It was part of your daily gear, like your belt or hat. Showed you were self-reliant, had standing.
That paints such a different picture of mealtime. And it led to some weird specialized knives too, didn't it? Like serving knives.
Yes. Présentoirs, they were sometimes called. Made pairs. And get this, they were only for passing food, not cutting it.
Just for handing stuff over.
Exactly. Very formal, very ritualized presentation of food. And then there were wedding knives.
Wedding knives?
Yeah, a common gift from the groom to his bride. Usually a pair of knives in a sheath.
What was the symbolism there? Just practical kitchen tools for the new wife?
It was definitely more than just practical. It symbolized setting up a new household, the tools to build a life together. Maybe the bride's role in managing the home, preparing food. It shows how deep the cultural meaning could be for everyday objects. And this connects to something really important. How rules and even royalty could shape cutlery itself. Fast forward to 1669. Louis XIV, the Sun King in France.
Okay, what did he do?
He made overly sharp, pointy knives illegal at the table. He decreed they should be replaced with blunter ones or wider ones, sometimes with a rounded tip.
A king banning pointy knives. Why? That seems odd.
It does, doesn't it? But think about it. Was it just safety? I mean, sure, less chance of stabbing yourself or someone else at a rowdy banquet.
Probably a good idea at court gatherings.
Definitely. But it was likely more than just safety. Louis XIV was making a power move. By taking away sharp-pointed knives, he was literally subtly disarming his nobles while they ate.
Ah, removing a potential weapon from the table.
Exactly. In a court full of rivalry and plotting. Smart move. Plus, it was about etiquette, encouraging more refined manners. Stop people from using knives to pick their teeth or aggressively stab food.
So his decree actually changed the shape of knives.
Profoundly. It influenced knife design for centuries. It fundamentally shifted table manners. It shows how even a royal whim could reshape daily life, turning a potential weapon into a tool of polite society.
Okay, wow. So from the sharp end of history with knives, let's move to the spoon. You think of it as simple, just for scooping.
Utterly utilitarian, right?
Yeah. But its history is actually really ancient, goes back further than you'd think, and it has this unexpected ceremonial side.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the ancient Egyptians again. They used spoons first, not just for eating, but for, well, religious purposes.
Religious. How?
These early spoons were made from wood, flint, ivory, often beautifully carved. And they had unique shapes, sometimes like handled dishes with a cover, maybe a spout.
What would they use those for?
Probably for things like pouring sacred liquids, offering incense, other ritual acts, way beyond just eating.
Yeah.
It shows this almost sacred past for an object we penally notice now.
And then later civilizations, Greece, Rome.
They started using bronze and silver more.
Yeah.
And guess who got the silver spoons? The rich folks. Always the rich folks.
Always. It was another clear status symbol. Imagine a gleaming silver spoon at a Roman feast.
Definitely makes a statement. Was there a specific type of Roman spoon?
There was. The Cutlery. It was a small spoon, but it had this distinctively long, papering handle.
Long handle. Why?
Probably for specific foods. Maybe eating snails or eggs or getting food out of shells. The name comes from the Latin for snail or shell. We find them all over Roman sites from the 4th and 5th century, so they were pretty common.
Okay, but here's where it gets really wild with spoons and symbolism, right? The coronation spoon in England.
Oh, yes. This is incredible. We're talking 13th century England. This isn't just a spoon, it's the spoon. A sacred artifact.
Used for?
Used to anoint the new king or queen with holy oil during the coronation ceremony. Every single one.
Wow. A spoon used to make someone king.
Think about that. A simple spoon holding such immense symbolism. Wealth, power, the divine right of the monarch. All tied up in this one object. It connects the sacred act of anointing with a tool for everyday eating. It's truly remarkable. Mind-blowing. So, moving into the medieval period in Europe, did spoons become more common then?
They did. Roughly between, say, 476 AD and 1492, spoons started being made more widely from horn, wood, brass, pewter, materials that were more accessible.
So not just for the super rich anymore.
Exactly. Still valuable, but becoming more of a household staple across Europe as metalworking got better, more practical, more available.
And then there's another special type of spoon from later English history, the apostle spoon.
Right. Tudor and Stuart periods. This was a very specific, fancy christening gift, usually for wealthy families.
What was it?
Typically a set of 12 spoons, and on the handle of each spoon was a little figure of one of the apostles.
12 apostles, 12 spoons. Makes sense.
And eventually they often added a 13th spoon, called the master spoon, which had a figure of Christ.
Wow, that's elaborate.
It really shows how deeply religion and social customs were intertwined with everyday objects, marking a birth, expressing faith and wealth, all through a set of spoons.
And the craftsmanship got even better around then too, right? Especially in the Elizabethan era.
Absolutely. The metalworking techniques for making spoons, which had been developing in the 15th century, were really perfected during Queen Elizabeth I's reign. Silversmiths started specializing just in spoons,
Becoming real artisans.
turning them into genuine works of art. Meticulously detailed, highly prized, it was a golden age for silver spoons, and luckily, many pieces from that time still exist today. It shows how important they were, how valued the craftsmanship was.
Okay, now for the fork, which to us today feels totally essential, right? Like, how could you eat without one?
It seems unthinkable now.
But its path to acceptance, especially in the West, was surprisingly rocky. People
Yeah.
didn't just immediately say, oh, great, forks.
Not at all. That's what's so fascinating. The fork actually has incredibly ancient roots in some parts of the world long before Europe caught on.
Really? Where?
China, for example. Archaeologists have found bone forks in sites from the Bronze Age Kiji culture. We're talking like 2200 BC to 1600 BC.
Whoa, bone forks that early.
And even in the later Shang dynasty, around 1600 to 1050 BC. So the idea of a tool with prongs for eating has been around for millennia in Asia.
So if they had them in Asia so early, how did they eventually get to Europe, and why weren't they popular right away?
Well, the main route seems to have been the Silk Road, bringing the idea and maybe some examples into Venice, that big trading hub.
Okay.
But even then, they weren't used for eating at the table initially. They were seen as culinary forks, meaning for cooking, used in the kitchen to hold hot meat while carving, or to lift things out of pots without burning your fingers. A kitchen tool, not a dining tool.
So still not at the dinner table. What finally brought it out of the kitchen?
It was a slow burn. We first see table forks mentioned properly in the 11th century in the Byzantine Empire, sometimes as part of a dowry items brought from Venice. That shows they were starting to be seen as valuable personal items for dining.
Okay, Byzantium, then Italy.
Exactly. Forks became more common in Italy before spreading elsewhere in Europe. Two main reasons. Italy had strong historical ties with Byzantium, where forks were more accepted.
And the other reason?
Pasta.
Ah, okay.
The rise of pasta as a staple food in Italy was crucial. Think about trying to eat long, slippery noodles with just a knife and spoon, or the single wooden spike they sometimes used before.
Nightmare.
Total mess. But the fork, with its multiple spikes, was perfect for gathering and turning noodles. It solved a real culinary problem.
So practicality finally won out, thanks to pasta.
It gave the fork a real job to do at the Italian table, accelerating its popularity there and shaping how they ate. It's a perfect case of a tool meeting a specific need.
And then there was a big royal push too, right, with Catherine de' Medici.
Yes, this was a key moment for spreading it beyond Italy. In the mid-16th century, Catherine de' Medici, an Italian noblewoman who became Queen of France, is credited with introducing and popularizing the meal fork at the French court.
So she brought Italian table manners, including the fork, to France.
Pretty much. Her influence was huge. Having a powerful queen use and promote the fork helped turn it from a weird Italian novelty into a symbol of sophistication and proper etiquette across European aristocracy.
So the fork's journey, it wasn't just about inventing it. It was about culture, practicality, status.
It's a fantastic mix. It needed a practical reason, like eating pasta easily. It needed cultural acceptance, which took time. And it needed influential people like Catherine de' Medici to make it fashionable and desirable. It really shows how tied our tools are to our food, our social norms, even the whims of the elite.
Okay, we've traced the journeys of the spoon, fork, and knife through history. Now let's shift gears and talk about what they're actually made of today, the materials.
Right, because the material dictates so much: how it looks, how it feels, how long it lasts, how easy it is to clean, and of course, how much it costs.
Let's start with the classic, maybe the most luxurious, sterling silver.
The benchmark for fine dining for ages. And sterling silver has a very specific legal definition. It has to be an alloy that's at least 92.5% pure silver.
Only 92.5%. What's the rest?
Usually copper, that other 7.5%. The copper adds strength and durability because pure silver is actually quite soft.
Ah.
That high silver content gives it that beautiful luster, that classic appeal. That's why it's used for heirloom pieces, but
There's always a but.
it tarnishes. It reacts with sulfur in the air, so it needs regular polishing to keep that shine. High beauty, high maintenance.
Okay, what about pewter? That feels kind of old-fashioned too, but different.
It is old, but modern pewter is quite different from the old stuff. It's a tin-based alloy. Today, it's typically around 91% tin, maybe 7.5% antimony, and 1.5% copper.
Tin, antimony, copper.
Come on.
What's not in it that used to be?
Lead. That's the crucial difference. Old pewter often contained lead, which we now know is toxic, making those old pieces unsafe for food. Modern pewter is lead-free, totally safe for dishes, mugs, everything.
That's a huge change. What does it look like?
It has this lovely bluish-white color. It can have a really bright, almost mirror finish,
Yeah.
or a softer satin look. Very versatile aesthetically.
And does it tarnish like silver?
Nope. That's one of its biggest advantages. It resists tarnish really well,
Okay.
keeps its color and finish pretty much indefinitely without needing constant polishing. Beautiful, durable, practical, low maintenance.
Okay, now for the one that sounds fancy but isn't. Nickel silver.
Ah, yes, the great pretender. This is where it gets interesting. Nickel silver is an alloy, mostly copper, nickel, and zinc.
So, no silver, despite the name.
Zero silver.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. It's silvery in appearance, designed to mimic the look of silver without the cost. Very clever, really.
Sneaky. What's the typical mix?
It varies quite a bit. The nickel content can range from maybe 7% up to 30%. A common one you see in decent quality but not high-end flatware is 18% nickel silver. That's usually around 18% nickel, 62% copper, and 20% zinc.
Does it tarnish?
It does, but much more slowly than sterling silver. It reacts gradually with airborne sulfur. The color also varies. The higher the nickel, the whiter it looks. Lower nickel alloys can look a bit yellowish, almost like brass.
Okay, so lots of metal options, but the ones most of us use every day are probably steel, right? Steel and stainless steel.
Absolutely, the workhorses. Basic steel is an alloy of iron and carbon. The carbon content is key, usually up to 2%. Any higher than that, and you're getting into cast iron territory, which is different.
Right, but the real star is stainless steel.
The undisputed champion of modern cutlery. It's actually a whole family of steel alloys, but the defining ingredient is chromium, typically between 10% and 30%.
Chromium, what does that do?
That's the magic ingredient. The chromium forms a thin, invisible passive layer on the surface of the steel. This layer protects the iron underneath from rusting and corrosion.
Ah, hence stainless.
Exactly. Especially when combined with low carbon content, it gives the steel remarkable resistance to rust, stains, and even heat. That's why it's everywhere. It's durable, it's hygienic because it's non-porous, it's easy to clean, it doesn't react with food, and it's relatively affordable.
So stainless steel basically democratized good cutlery.
That's a perfect way to put it. It took decent quality cutlery from being a fragile, high-maintenance luxury item for the wealthy
Yeah.
and put durable, easy care tools into pretty much every kitchen. It fundamentally changed daily dining, making clean, reliable cutlery accessible to everyone.
Okay, from durable metals, let's make a big jump to plastics, which are, everywhere now, especially for disposable stuff. Super convenient,
Okay.
but also kind of controversial.
Huge topic, yeah. Convenience versus environmental impact. When we talk plastic cutlery, two main types usually pop up: polypropylene or PP.
That's number 5 in the recycling triangle, right?
That's the one. And polystyrene, PS, which is number 6. They have different properties, used for slightly different things, and often raise different levels of concern.
So polypropylene, PP number 5, what's that good for?
It's really common for things like heat-resistant spoons, forks for hot food, those translucent takeaway lids. It works well because it can handle heat, up to maybe 120 degrees Celsius.
So safe for soup or coffee stirrers.
Right. It's also resistant to acids, alkalis, chemicals, and it doesn't shatter easily. It's pretty crash-proof. Our source even calls it the most suitable material for plastic tableware from a performance angle. Very versatile for quick disposable food service.
Okay, and the other one, polystyrene, PS number 6.
You might know PS better from things like styrofoam cups, yogurt pots, plastic toys, maybe clear salad boxes, or egg cartons. It's also used for disposable cutlery.
How does it compare to PP for cutlery?
PS cutlery tends to feel stiffer, more rigid. It's more resistant to bending than PP and feels denser, often preferred for knives or forks where you need a bit more rigidity.
But, and this is the big but, all this plastic convenience comes at a cost, right? The environmental side.
Exactly. That's the elephant in the room. The sheer volume of single-use plastic cutlery, its reliance on fossil fuels, the pollution it causes in oceans and landfills, it's a massive problem.
We've all seen those horrible pictures.
Which perfectly sets the stage for where things are heading now, the search for more sustainable alternatives. Because the material choices we make, especially for disposables, have huge long-term consequences. We need options that break down or come from renewable sources.
Okay, so moving away from those traditional plastics, let's look at a totally different category. Wooden cutlery, which feels both old-fashioned and kind of modernly eco-friendly at the same time.
It does have that nice natural appeal, doesn't it? And different woods offer different benefits, often with a much better environmental story.
Like teak. I know that's used for furniture, but cutlery too.
Yeah, teak is fantastic. It's one of the strongest, most durable hardwoods out there. Great for reusable utensils that need to last.
What makes it so tough?
It has these amazing natural oils in the wood itself. They make it really resistant to water and weather, so it doesn't warp or rot easily, even with repeated washing.
And there's a sustainable angle too.
There can be. Our sources mention that in places like Thailand, craftspeople often make teak utensils from the leftover offcuts from the logging industry, turning waste into something beautiful and useful that's great circular thinking.
Nice. What about acacia wood?
Acacia is also good. It has natural oils too, which helps stop it from absorbing moisture, important for hygiene and durability in the kitchen.
But is it as tough as teak?
Not quite as hard-wearing. And acacia often needs some kind of finish applied to protect it from decay over the long term, especially if it's going to be washed frequently. Beautiful wood grain, though.
Okay. And coconut palm wood. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that gets mentioned specifically for kitchen utensils and especially for serving things like salads. It has a really unique look from the dense fibers of the palm wood, strong, and gives off a kind of rustic or tropical vibe.
So those are more for reusable wooden items. What about the disposable kind? If you need single use, is wood a better option than plastic?
Generally, yes, especially certain types. This is where birch and bamboo really shine. They're often called the best woods for disposable utensils.
Why them specifically?
Well, partly because they're strong, but also easy to process efficiently into utensil shapes. But the really crucial factor is how quickly they grow back. Sustainability is key here.
Right. How fast are we talking?
A birch tree might take around 30 years to fully regrow. That's way better than many slow-growing hardwoods. But bamboo, it's incredible. Some species can fully replenish themselves in just 5 years, sometimes even quicker.
5 years versus how long does oil take to form?
Billions of years. Exactly. Using rapidly renewable resources like bamboo is just vastly better ecologically than relying on finite fossil fuels like oil, which we're using up far faster than they can ever be replenished.
Plus, can't you sometimes reuse bamboo cutlery?
You absolutely can. If it's decent quality and you wash it carefully, bamboo cutlery can often be reused multiple times, which cuts down waste even further.
So, really, wooden cutlery, especially birch and bamboo for disposables, is a major step towards more sustainable eating.
Definitely. It's a move away from petroleum plastics, back towards natural materials, but with a modern focus on renewability and lower environmental impact. It's like rediscovering traditional wisdom with an eco-conscious twist.
Okay, let's look right at the cutting edge now, pun intended. What are the really new, inventive ideas shaping cutlery today and for the future?
Oh, there's some wild stuff happening. Designers are getting really creative, often combining functions, thinking about different eating styles, and focusing on specific needs.
Like those combination utensils.
Exactly. They aim for maximum efficiency, especially if you're eating on the go or dealing with different types of food in one meal. You see things like fork chopsticks.
For meals that need both, like noodles and bigger pieces.
Precisely. Or even more complex ones, like a fork-knife chopsticks combo. A true all-in-one tool for, say, a packed lunch or a bento box.
Yeah, what else?
Then you have the simpler combos. Spoon-fork, the classic spork. Spoon-knife, knife-fork. Each one designed for specific situations where you want multiple functions without carrying multiple items. It's all about streamlining the eating experience.
Very practical ingenuity. What about highly specialized tools?
Yes, those are interesting too. Think of the pastry fork, or pie fork, or cake fork.
Is there a difference?
Often, yes. They sometimes have one tine that's wider than the others, maybe even with a little cutting edge on the side. Designed specifically for tackling flaky pastry or soft cake, neatly cutting and lifting in one go. It shows how we design tools for optimal enjoyment of specific foods.
And then there's cutlery designed for people with specific challenges.
Adaptive cutlery. This is incredibly important work. These tools are designed to help people who might have tremors, arthritis, limited hand strength, or other physical difficulties.
How do they help?
They might have weighted handles for stability, or specially shaped ergonomic grips that are easier to hold, or angled heads to reduce the wrist movement needed. It's about designing for inclusivity, allowing people more independence and dignity when eating. Really thoughtful, empowering design.
That's fantastic. Are there other specialized types? Like diet cutlery?
Yeah, things like diet spoons or forks exist too. They might have smaller bowls or tines to help with portion control, or features designed for specific dietary needs where managing intake is important for health.
So putting it all together, these innovations show cutlery isn't static. It's reflecting how we eat now, global influences, and a much greater focus on individual user needs.
Absolutely. It's moving way beyond just the standard knife, fork, spoon. It's adapting, specializing, becoming more inclusive, more versatile, a real focus on the user experience in all its diversity.
But probably the single biggest driver of innovation right now, especially for disposables, has to be sustainability, right? Moving away from those traditional plastics we talked about.
Without a doubt. The environmental pressure is immense, and thankfully, designers and material scientists are responding with some really promising alternatives.
Like PLA, what is that exactly?
PLA stands for polylactic acid. It's a type of bioplastic. That means it's not made from petroleum like conventional plastic.
Where does it come from then?
It's made from renewable resources, usually the sugars derived from plants like cornstarch, cassava, or sugarcane.
And the big environmental benefit.
It's biodegradable, but specifically under the right conditions, commercial composting facilities. In those controlled environments with the right heat and moisture, PLA plastic can break down completely in about 12 weeks.
So much better than regular plastic, but you need the right disposal infrastructure.
Exactly. It's a big step, but relies on proper composting systems being available.
Okay, what else is out there? Sugarcane cutlery.
Yes, also called bagasse cutlery. Bagasse is the fibrous residue that's left over after sugarcane stalks are crushed to extract their juice.
So it's using a waste product.
Precisely. Taking agricultural waste and turning it into sturdy cutlery. And it is surprisingly strong and rigid, often feels more substantial than flimsy plastic.
And its eco-credentials.
It's compostable and biodegradable. It breaks down naturally, returning nutrients to the soil, which is a much better end-of-life scenario than plastic.
Okay, PLA, sugarcane. Good steps. But now for the one that sounds almost science fiction, edible cutlery.
Right. This is where it gets really fascinating. Maybe the ultimate sustainable solution. Cutlery you can actually eat.
How on earth did they make that?
It's typically made from dried grains, things like rice, millet, or wheat flours. They mix it into a dough or batter.
Like baking?
Kind of. The batter is then baked hard in molds shaped like spoons, forks, even knives.
Does it taste like anything?
It can. Some manufacturers offer different flavors. Savory ones like chili or ginger, or sweet ones like chocolate or vanilla. So after your meal, your utensil becomes a little crunchy snack.
That is wild. And if you don't eat it?
That's the beauty of it. If you just dispose of it, it decomposes naturally in about a week. Just breaks down back into the soil. No waste, no pollution. It's an incredibly elegant solution.
Wow! So edible cutlery basically eliminates the disposal problem entirely.
Pretty much, it's the definition of a circular solution. And what's really fascinating about all these sustainable options, PLA, sugarcane, edible, is the huge shift in thinking.
How so?
Cutlery design isn't just about utility anymore. It's fundamentally about environmental responsibility, about resource efficiency, about closing the loop. Cutlery has become part of this much bigger ecological conversation. It challenges us to think about consumption, waste, our whole relationship with the planet, one meal at a time.
What an incredible journey we've been on today. Seriously. From like the earliest flint tools just for survival.
Millennia ago.
Yeah, through fancy Roman silver, those ceremonial Egyptian spoons, the whole long, slow drama of the fork finally getting accepted.
Don't forget Louis XIV's banning pointy knives.
Right. All the way to the complex material science of stainless steel and plastics, and now edible forks. It's just mind-blowing how much history, culture, science, and now environmental concern is packed into these things we barely even notice.
It really is.
I feel like this deep dive has genuinely given us a shortcut to understanding something we just took completely for granted. The depth is amazing.
It truly is. And hopefully now, as you go about your day, maybe when you're setting the table later or grabbing lunch.
You'll look at that fork a bit differently.
Exactly. Take a moment. Think about the tools in your hand. Which one could you honestly not live without? The curve of that spoon? The tines of the fork? The edge of the knife? Why that specific one?
Or thinking ahead. Which of these new sustainable ideas, PLA, sugarcane, the edible stuff, do you think will really make the difference?
It's something to ponder. We really encourage you, next time you eat, just observe the cutlery you're using with this newfound appreciation, because every single piece truly tells a story.